Hey guys, Saki here from sakitech, and in today's video, we will do a full comparison between the Samsung Galaxy Note 5 versus the LG V10. Just to give you guys a perspective, the Note 5 was released in August 2015 and the V10 in October 2015. Both these phones have some unique features such as the S Pen on the Note 5 and the second screen on the LG V10. This is going to be a tough comparison, so without wasting any time, let's dive in and start off by comparing the build and design. Alright, so let's start off with the Note 5. In simple terms, the design and build on the Note 5 is simply exceptional. From the materials used to the design language, Samsung has raised the bar. Note 5 is framed in a rock-solid 7000 series aluminum frame that surrounds the edges of the phone with Gorilla Glass 4 on the front and back. As you know, Gorilla Glass 4 is durable and scratch resistant. Also, the curved edges on the rear glass on the Note 5 sit in your hand quite comfortably. The only complaint is that the glass finish offers no grip, therefore it feels like the phone could just glide out of your hands at any second unless you add a case to it. Now let's turn to the LG V10. We have a different style, a more rugged build specially designed to take abuse. Unlike the Note 5, this phone doesn't demand a case. First, it is built like a rock with stainless steel side rails with a reinforced frame. And secondly, it has excellent grip thanks to the grid patterned synthetic back cover. But here's the kicker, it still looks fantastic. There's no question that when you hold this device in your hands, it looks and feels premium. But let's just stop a minute and take a look at the design of both of these phones. I believe it's hard to assign a win to a particular device since inevitably it's a subjective choice. However, I believe that the Note 5 looks sleeker and sexier overall. I suppose that is my opinion, but it might be the prevailing opinion as well. As for the build, clearly the LG V10 is built for abuse while the Note 5 isn't. So you have to make the distinction between the design language and the actual build. And the build is very important. The LG is definitely more drop proof than the Note 5. It is very likely that the Note 5 may shatter if dropped accidentally, but the LG is specifically designed not to shatter as easily for accidental drops. In conclusion, I'm going to assign the win for the actual design language to the Note 5, and the build is going to go to the LG V10. Let's move on to the processor and memory. So the Note 5 comes with an Exynos 7 7420 octa-core 64-bit processor. Octa means 8. We have 4 cores clocked at 2.1 GHz and the other 4 cores clocked at 1.5 GHz. The base model has 32 GB of storage and 4 GB of RAM. The LG V10 has a Snapdragon 808 hexa-core processor. This is a 64-bit processor, but it's a 6-core processor. 2 cores are clocked at 2 GHz and the 4 cores are clocked at 1.55 GHz. Now the base model comes with 64 GB of built-in storage, and you also get a whopping 4 GB of RAM. And the LG V10 actually comes with a micro SD card expansion slot, which you can use to add a whopping 2 TB of extra storage on a micro SD card. That is fantastic. Now both these phones have some impressive specs, though the processor on the Note 5 seems slightly more powerful. However, the LG V10 is a clear winner on the storage side. Now at the end of this video, we will do a benchmark comparison and measure which one of these phones generates more raw power. So stay tuned, but for now, let's move on to the dimensions and weight. Here's the measurements for the Note 5. It is 153.2 millimeters in height, 76.1 millimeters wide, and 7.6 millimeters in thickness. It only weighs 171 grams. Now the LG V10 measures 159.6 millimeters in height, 79.3 millimeters wide, and 8.6 millimeters in thickness, and it weighs 192 grams. Now the rugged design of the V10 comes with a slight price. It's heavier and thicker, but not obnoxiously so. It's only 1 millimeter thicker and 21 grams heavier than the Note 5. This is a category I do not dwell on too much anymore, since both the Note 5 and V10 are relatively light and thin, but the Note 5 wins purely based on the numbers. So let's take a look at the display technology. The Note 5 has a 5.7-inch screen, and the resolution is 1440 by 2560, which gives us a 518 pixels per inches, and this is a Super AMOLED screen. The V10 also is a 5.7-inch screen. same resolution of 1440 by 2560, but 515 pixels per inches, and you do have an IPS LCD. Now the V10 happens to have a second screen, which we'll be talking about in a minute. This is a 2.1 inch screen, and the resolution is 1024 by 160. And let me say this one more time. Obviously we have a second screen on the V10, which adds some extra functionality, but we will talk about that in the software comparison section. The Note 5 does have the S Pen in its arsenal to show for extra functionality as well. So we will come back to that later in a couple minutes. Now both these phones are Quad HD resolution phones with super sharp and crystal clear screens. Deep, rich colors and great contrast is a standard. Screen quality should not be the deciding factor for purchase among these phones. You can get either one and you won't miss a thing. So let's move on to the software. Both these phones run the latest version of Android and hence offer all the perks of an Android system, which means you get extensive customization and personalization. You can obviously do things such as using live widgets for just about anything, such as weather, news, calculators, calendars, the stock market, fancy clocks, and such, as well as tweak hundreds of settings within the Android system. You can also download and install custom themes that transform the look and feel of your phone completely, as you can see. Additionally, both these phones are smooth and lag free. So what distinguishes them from hundreds of other Android phones out there other than the flagship specifications? Well, in the Note 5 you have the S Pen, and the S Pen is magnificent. It allows for super precise note-taking and sketching abilities equivalent to very expensive pen tablets that professionals use to create real artwork. The S Pen is a stylus you can use to navigate the phone. It is a pen to take notes and a brush to draw, and it just adds this extra sense of fanciness to the overall experience of using a phone of this size. There is so much you can do with the S Pen, and I'm going to leave a link in the description to the full S Pen tips and tricks so you can see everything it makes possible. But what about LG V10? What does it have to offer as a response? It doesn't have an S Pen, but it has a newly crafted second screen. It's basically designed to give you access to information that's most important to you. You can use it to see if you have any notifications, and you can add shortcuts to your favorite apps so you can launch them with the tap of a button. And you can also access quick toggles such as the flashlight feature. It's a very customizable little strip of a screen, and once again I will drop a link below which will take you to a video that will showcase everything that is possible with the second screen. Now, does the second screen indirectly equal the S Pen? For me, no. Obviously, it doesn't replace any S Pen functionality at all, though it adds some new functionality that the Note 5 doesn't offer. But you will have to make the choice. Let me put it this way, the LG V10 offers such a great software experience that if the Note 5 didn't have the S Pen, I'd purchase the LG V10. But that S Pen is really appealing and more practical than a second screen. I believe that the Note 5 gets the overall win in the software department due to the productivity features that the S Pen makes possible. If that is not a big deal to you, you can easily go with the LG V10. And finally, I do want to mention that both these phones offer some very smooth split screen multitasking where you can have two app windows running side by side. For instance, you can be watching a YouTube video while browsing the web, or indulge in a text message while browsing through your gallery. And that's all I'm going to talk about in the software section. Now, camera may seem like an important category of comparison, and it is. But in this instance, the bottom line is that both the Note 5 and the V10 have amazing cameras that produce perfectly usable shots in comparable situations. That means no matter which phone you buy, you cannot go wrong. However, there are some extra software features on the LG V10 camera which gives it a slight edge. So let's dive in and find out more, but we will mainly stick to highlights as we cannot talk about every single feature. On the rear, the Note 5 has a 16 megapixel camera with an aperture of f1.9, whereas the LG V10 has a 16 megapixel camera with an aperture of f1.8. Both phones offer optical image stabilization. Now, both these cameras offer a plethora of shooting options, from a basic mode to a full manual mode, among others. If you're someone that likes to shoot photos and let the software take care of everything for you, you can use the basic modes to snap pictures. But if you're a little bit more serious who likes to control their photography, you can use the full manual mode, which allows you to manually change the ISO, shutter speed, white balance, and even manually adjust the point of focus. Additionally, you can record video in 1080p in 30 or 60 frames per second and 4K at 30 frames per second with both these phones, as well as slow motion at 720p and 120 frames per second. Where the LG V10 takes the lead is that it actually offers a fully manual video mode as well, where you can also tweak everything manually, such as the ISO, shutter speed, white balance, and the focus. On top of this, it gives you control over the directional mic with the ability to control the gain levels. As for the final quality of the video produced, you get great results with either camera. Let's move on to the front side. On the Note 5, you have a 5 megapixel front-facing camera, and on the V10, you have actually dual front-facing cameras. So there's not one camera, but there are two actual front-facing cameras. Each offers 5 megapixels with a multi-wide view, so you can take 120-degree selfies. Do I think this is a big deal, the wide-angle selfie? Absolutely not. When I purchase a phone for personal use, I don't even consider the stats on the front camera because I don't take selfies. But that's one personal opinion I wanted to broadcast in this video. I do not care about the front-facing camera, but if you do, V10 is the way to go. But obviously the front camera is not a big deal. The biggest deal is always the rear camera, and both phones have amazing rear cameras. So let's talk about the battery. The Note 5 has a non-removable 3000 milliamp hours battery, whereas the V10 has a removable 3000 milliamp hours battery. Now, Note 5 has a proven battery life that will last you a full day with moderate to heavy use. Now, V10 offers slightly less battery life, though it's the same capacity, but let's instead talk about various features present on each device to manage battery and how that might affect the battery life. Now, just by having a removable battery, the V10 gets a lead because you can simply carry a pre-charged battery with you to double battery life. You cannot beat that straightforward benefit. Now, as a response, the Note 5 does have wireless charging and fast wireless charging. Now, fast wireless charging enables you to charge your battery from 0 to 100% in 2 hours. So the LG V10 lacks wireless charging, but it does have the removable battery. As for software battery management features, the Note 5 takes the lead due to the fact that it has an ultra power savings mode, which when enabled transforms the Note 5 into a bare bone device, allowing you to perform most basic things like calling, text, and using low-level apps like the calculator. The screen turns black and white, and even 10% of battery charge could last you for almost a day for talking and texting purposes only. And finally, both the LG V10 and the Note 5 has a standard power savings mode, which extends battery life for an hour or two at best. Now, in this category, I suppose we can give the win to the V10 because it does have a removable battery, and that is a very clear benefit for people that actually need to carry several batteries with them all the time because they use their phone all the time. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. If all you do is go to work and come back home, or if you go to school and come back home, you can always charge your battery. Next up, the fingerprint sensor. Now, from my experiments, the fingerprint sensor on both phones works flawlessly. The difference is that the LG has a sensor on the back atop the power button, whereas the Note 5 has it in the front atop the home button. For now, I prefer the home button fingerprint sensor on the front side, but I think the back placement on the LG also has a nice strategic location. Bottom line though is that they work quickly and accurately every single time, and that's what makes everyone happy. Now let's do a processor and memory benchmark to see which one of these phones is faster. We will be using the Geekbench benchmarking tool, which simulates real-world scenarios to stress test these devices to their absolute maximum. Now, as you can see, we have ended all the background tasks so we can get an accurate reading. So let's get this rolling. I am going to go ahead and fast forward this benchmark test to the end so we can inspect the results together. All right, so there we have it. If you look at the single core performance, the results are not that far ahead. The Samsung Galaxy Note 5 has 1204 and the LG V10 has 1125. Now, the multi-score performance, the Note 5 takes a big lead. You have 4,298 versus 3,588. Regardless, in each case, the Note 5 is in fact faster both in single core and multi-core, but that does not mean that the LG V10 is a slow phone. But Note 5 definitely has more processing power. Let's move on. So after all this, what is the conclusion? We have two phablets here that are super fast, super smooth, and full of rich features. They both run Android, so we have the ability to customize our phones to our personal sense of style. They both have amazing cameras, so you can't go wrong with either one in that department. However, the LG V10 gets you the following benefits and advantages. Removable battery, higher storage capacity for the base model at 64 gigabytes, with the addition of expandable storage and a strong, durable build designed to take abuse. On the other hand, the Note 5 offers a beautiful design, the S Pen, which is more functional and practical than the second screen, and it's going to allow your Note 5 to act like a real note-taking and sketching tool. It also offers wireless charging as well as fast wireless charging, which fully charges your phone's dead battery with no cords in 2 hours. So that's what it boils down to. First, you have to decide whether a precise stylus is your thing, or do you instead prefer a removable battery and expandable storage. Secondly, you have to decide between a rugged phone designed for abuse between one that is sexier but not as drop-proof. So it's all up to you. Do let me know what is your choice. Is it the LG V10 or the Note 5? Make sure to subscribe to sakitech and give this video a thumbs up. Also become a stalker on Facebook and Twitter. All social media links will be down below in the description. I'll see you the next time.